my understanding that the Yautja are friend to none, but they are predator to all. At least that's what my Yautja Codex says. That's
Yeah, they
42225, in case you're wondering if you want to look it up, the page numbers
oh
and everything.
you
Chapter and
marked it
verse.
down. Sure.
422 is my birthday. So,
Oh, that's handy.
yeah. So I'm hoping that they celebrate my birthday over there on Yautja Prime. Welcome back, midnight viewers, to Yautja Fest, the ultimate Yautja Fest, the finale of Yautja Fest for now, in that we're here to talk about Predator Badlands. We've reached the top of the Predator Mountain. HP, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. We made it, Father Malone. Can you believe it? How many movies? 7 movies
It
across
feels,
almost 40 years?
40 years. No, that's funny.
Seriously.
It is 40 years, but yeah, I thought you were saying like it took us 40 years to get here.
No, it was very pleasurable getting here, but I just can't believe we reached as you said, the finale for now. It's gone by so fast.
The feeling is bittersweet because I've had a really good time spending time with the Yautja low these many
Likewise.
weeks. I hope you've all enjoyed it as well. And oh my God, it's a day of review. This movie just came out today and we're on the air. That's because we're VIPs now. That's right. We had early access screenings, HP and I.
Velvet rope, everything.
And what we are here to talk about Predator Badlands. Here's the motherfucking trailer.
Welcome to the most dangerous planet in the universe, where everything is trying to kill you. I need a hand. You're here to prove yourself. Hunting something that can't be killed. We might not be alone in this hunt.
Yaslan so idzie. Det jet unites.
Predator Badlands was released today, directed by Dan Trachtenberg, screenplay by Patrick Asen, from a story by Dan Trachtenberg and Patrick Asen. They are the team behind Prey, based on characters by who, HP?
I don't have that written down. You'll have to pick that up for me.
Jim and John Thomas.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Glenn and Les Charles. Charles
Jesus
boys.
Marimba. Okay, starring Elle Fanning, Demetrius Schuster Kaloa Matangi, and Elle Fanning. It's a dual role. HP, can you believe we're here?
I can't believe it. I'm so excited. This is thrilling.
Did I already say the feeling is bittersweet because I don't want this world to end?
Well, but you know what? I think not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think we can agree, and we've made reference to this in the past couple episodes. The series is never been in better hands than in Dan Trachtenberg's hands. So it is bittersweet, but there's plenty to look forward to going forward.
Not only is the series in good hands, there actually feels like there's a series now.
Yeah. Really, I let's get into it. There's so much I want to say about this movie, and there's so much I want to get into, but I don't want to bury the lead. You know what I mean?
Okay, go for it.
So, you want me to go into the plot a little bit?
You want to talk about the
Where
plot?
this?
You want to look? I think we should say I think we're going to spoil this movie, but
Oh yeah,
it's not going to be till the end of the review. There'll be in the show notes, there'll probably be a spoiler warning if you want to jump to that, because I don't want to spoil this movie for anyone. I'll bury the lead. I loved the movie.
I did too.
Okay. Okay. We'll just leave it at that, and then we'll just
Yeah.
go through the movie and talk about it. I haven't had that good a time in a theater in a long time.
It was a wonderful experience. I going into it, I was reading a lot of articles about it. I think you tried to keep yourself isolated from all of that because you wanted to go in fresh. But I confess, I looked up a lot of information, and there was a lot. There seemed to be not really a backlash, but there's a lot of people I think who got hung up on this idea that Predator is a Disney property, and there have been comparisons made for this movie comparing it to The Mandalorian, which I don't think is entirely unwarranted when you really think about it, because you have this main character, this stoic, tough main character who has a sidekick, or in this case, sidekicks that are in some ways cut the tension a little bit. They're a little cutesy, they're a little funny. So while I don't necessarily think that's intentional, I do think that in this case, it just underscores for me the risk taking of Dan Trachtenberg, because it would have been easy to give us another movie where the Predator is on yet another safari. And we've seen that how many times now over the past, again, 40 years. This is so refreshing. He jettisoned the horror elements, which are great. And that's one of the things I loved about the series up to this point. But it was so much fun to go into it and really have him embrace this sci-fi action adventure ethos. I got excited just for that reason.
I would say to people who are unfavorably comparing this to The Mandalorian, this is A, better than The Mandalorian, and B, I suggest you go watch a film series from the 60s called Lone Wolf and Cub.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone just shut the fuck up. If people have a problem with this movie echoing another movie, then they're probably not fans of Terminator 2, because that's what this movie felt like to me. Terminator 2, if you watch Terminator and Terminator 2 back to back, you will realize very quickly Terminator 2 is just a remake of Terminator, almost beat for beat, just with a bigger budget and higher stakes. That's what this is here, folks.
Yeah, I didn't walk out of Terminator 2 thinking to myself, oh, it was this gambit to make Arnold, because now Arnold's a big star and he can't be the villain anymore. I walked out of it saying, damn it, James Cameron, he totally subverted what I thought I was going to get with a Terminator movie. And that's exactly, subverted maybe isn't the right word in this case, but it, again, for a movie that's I believe it's the first PG-13 in the series.
Was it PG-13?
It was PG-13.
This movie grossed me out in places. There's no shortage of action. Although they did something extremely clever. I say this every review of a Trachtenberg movie. They did something extremely clever. There are no humans in this movie.
Yeah. And that's why they could make it PG-13, because most of the violence is directed towards either these synthetic humans, and they don't have the same milky blood that we've seen in like the Alien pictures.
These aren't androids. This is not Ash or Bishop. These are synths, which is a whole other Weyland-Yutani.
So when it's not those synthetic creatures being destroyed, it's just a bunch of crazy creatures on this planet Genna. So that's why he can get away with making this a PG-13 movie, even though there's no shortage of violence and gore. But it's tempered by the fact that none of it is directed towards any actual humans.
HP, take us to Yautja Prime. Look, this is the first, I guess in Killer of Killers, they put the word Yautja on screen, which is really the first time we see it. But to have it very stamped onto the screen, Yautja Prime, here we are. This is their homeworld. There's no two ways about it. Like, even when we saw what we might have been the Yautja Prime homeworld in Alien versus Predator Requiem, it wasn't clear. It was just, here's a planet, here's a predator picking up a call, and off he goes. That might have been a colony somewhere.
We saw a little bit of it at the end of Killer of Killers too, in the gladiatorial arena. I would presume that's also a part of Yautja Prime.
But see, I also did not want to presume at that point that was Yautja Prime because they hop around to so many planets for so many different
Yeah.
activities. That might just be Arena Planet for them.
Yeah. So this is our really, you're right. This is our first real look, labeled as such as I presume it's the Yautja homeworld, Yautja Prime.
Can I just say
And
one thing about the subtitle?
yeah.
The subtitle was very neatly displayed in the lower right portion of the screen instead of gigantic and across the entire screen, which every fucking movie does now. Please, everyone, stop doing that.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's,
Have you noticed that? Like that started like in the Avengers. I noticed that was like it would say like Los Angeles, and it fills the
right in the
entire
middle.
screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, and now every
Yeah.
TV show does it. Every movie, like it. We can just put it in the low. You don't even need to put it honestly if you're showing us a shot of New York.
Yeah, some of the subtitling and some of those title cards they reminded me actually of because I've been watching a lot of Star Trek movies because of Star Trek Fest.
Oh my God,
And
what's that, everybody?
a lot of that reminded me a little bit of that too. And to me, that underscored the sci-fi thrust of this movie, I guess, more than anything.
So what happens, man? Come on.
Oh, so
Unless you
so
want me to give
in
more
the
general impressions because I got a lot.
no, let's get into this because it's all of our impressions are going to come out in due course, I think, as we talk about this movie. But, and again, forgive if there's any spoilers. Well, hopefully those will be left to the end here. But I don't think we're spoiling anything at this point that wasn't in the trailer. What we're dealing with here, it's a family of Yautja. And the main character that we're going to follow in this movie is a Yautja named Dek. And by the way, the actor, I'm not going to butcher his name,
His first name is Demetrius. Let's call him Demetrius.
Demetrius. He is the first actor to play the Predator who is shorter than 7 feet tall. And that's important because Dek, the main character of this movie, is basically the runt of his family of Yautja. He has a brother named Quay, and he has this father, this stern patriarch of the clan or the family. And
He's got them
what
predator
happens,
horns, so he's important.
and supposedly the same actor played both roles, played Dek and played the father, or I think he was the one who did the motion capture. So Dek is the runt of his family. And what we see happen is the father has ordered him to be killed by his brother Quay because that's the Yautja way. Weakness cannot be tolerated in the family. He basically says, because by the way, another big thing is we have seen or heard Yautja speak, but we haven't seen it to this degree. There's actual conversations between Yautja throughout this movie, and the father is talking about how he actually wanted the brother to kill the son in his sleep because he can't tolerate this runt being in the family. And
He brings
one thing
shame to the family. He's so worthless as a predator.
shame. Prior to the father showing up, the Dek has announced his intention to his brother that he wants to go to this planet of Genna, which is the most hostile planet apparently that the Yautja know of. And his intent is to kill this creature called the Kalisk, which is supposed to be the apex predator of all apex predators. He wants
Every predator fears. Every Yautja fears.
even their father is afraid of the Kalisk. So that's what Dek wants to do. And by the way, Dek is almost immediately a sympathetic character. Now, the thing is, I believe he's one of the first predators where he wasn't actually wearing a mask. It's all done with CG. It's remarkable. The performance that this actor gives through this CG makeup, if you will, is astounding because the sequence where he's basically at the father's mercy and he's a heartbeat away from getting killed by his brother, who eventually turns on the father, and it becomes this battle where the brother essentially sacrifices himself. But through this whole sequence, it's almost heartbreaking to watch Dek screaming for his brother, for mercy for his brother.
You see, starting at the very beginning where he's trapped and the brother is going to sacrifice him, you see every emotion playing on this CG character's face. He's wounded. He can't believe it. He's terrified. He's filled with rage. And I thought this was going to be the most awkward part of the movie, watching Yautja speak. And I was used to it so fucking quickly.
Yeah.
And to your point about the subtitling, in The Predators, the first time we got to see a predator actually speak, and what we got was the predator language, and it would decode into English, and they carried that into Killer of Killers. Like, even though we were seeing it in English, the edges of it were still the Yautja language, the sort of many lines, the kind that they have on their detonators on their arms. This one, it's just straight up, here's their language. And I admired that so much. I admired the fact that they spoke in Yautja, and it is subtitled as much as it is. And we'll eventually get some English and a very clever reason for it. But I just thought it was amazing how quickly I got used to Yautja speaking. And as you said, the visual effects going on here for his face are fucking ridiculous.
They're incredible.
I thought it was
speaking,
practical. I thought it was practical for a lot of the movie, and then to find out none of it was.
You just forget to even think about that, because as he's speaking, they have these, of course, they have these famous mandibles that kind of expand. As he's speaking, you can see the skin of the mandibles vibrating with his breath. And it's so compelling, and it looks so real that, again, I thought that maybe it was CG aided practical effects, but it's my understanding it was all CG. I haven't seen any behind the scenes footage, but I assume he's just wearing some kind of green thing on his head and they just mapped it all in after the fact, but it's very realistic. And
the process of the voice, by the way, because first of all, the language is great. It's right up there with Klingon, baby. And but the thing is, they seem to have made accommodations for the fact that there's a mouth and then mostly a guttural. We've always heard them speaking from deep in their throat to begin with. And there is these mandible flaps outside it. So you're getting not just this alien language, but how an alien would speak in their alien language, which was remarkable for this 90-minute action movie.
Yeah, a lot of care went into A, the language, and B, as you said, how they speak and how their anatomy works as they're speaking. I thought it was fantastic. So in his last dying breath, essentially, the brother who's going to be killed by the father, he's turned on the father effectively, and the father just wastes him almost immediately. But in his last move as he's dying, he sends Deck, he sets a course for this planet Genna, and he takes off before the father can kill him too. And as you said, the emotions that play across this CG character's face, you were saying how quickly you got used to the language and all that. It's amazing how quickly you already feel sympathy and you feel for this character and you're rooting for him. How could you not? Because everyone loves an underdog. Now, obviously, the Predators over the course of the film's history are pretty brutal, and I'd be hard pressed to express sympathy for any of them. You almost immediately, you can't help but be rooting for this guy. It's amazing. It's like a magic trick.
We've sided with some Predators before. We liked them during the first Alien versus Predator. That one dude, what was his name? Wolf?
The one who communicates with
Lathan, man.
Yeah,
hang out with her, and then he gets killed by the alien queen, and then all those other cool Predators get out. We were cool with them. I know look, if there had been no xenomorphs in that temple, they would have been full-on villains, but
sure. But I guess rooting for them is one thing, but to have sympathy for them, I don't think even in that sequence with Sanaa Lathan, you ever have sympathy. You have a respect for the Predator because he recognizes that she's a warrior in that movie.
I just want to talk about Sanaa Lathan. I agree with you. This is unlike anything we've seen before. We're not only taking him as our protagonist, but we're taking him now as a very sympathetic protagonist because he's got family trouble, and we've all been there.
And the fact that he's basically bullied and he's rejected by the father, and he has a lot to prove.
He's a runt. He's a nerd.
He's the runt, and he's not only, he's picked the worst of the worst as his goal to prove his honor. And by the way, the whole thing of it is once he proves that he's worthy of the clan, that's when he is presented with the cloak with the invisibility bit that we've all gotten used to. So, by the way, through this whole movie, he doesn't have the ability to become invisible. He hasn't earned that yet, which I thought was also an interesting because it was about, I don't know, shortly after he landed on this planet, I went, why isn't he just, oh, because he hasn't earned his armor. He hasn't earned the ability to become an actual Yautja. There are many times in the movie where we'll talk about Elle Fanning, but she says, "Oh, deck of the Yautja," and he says, "No, not yet. I haven't proven myself yet." So he's got that code too. But it's almost comical. The ship takes off automatically and arrives on this planet, and almost immediately he is under attack, and it really doesn't stop for the whole movie.
Hey,
Right?
remember when we reviewed Predators? And the thing that we really liked about Predators was we pulled all our human characters off of Earth and got them into an alien world because the Predators are aliens and we want to go to alien worlds. And then it seems like they were running around Hawaii.
Right. This isn't Hawaii. This movie.
is not Hawaii. This is an alien world. And it's not just a pink sky with a couple of planets floating in the atmosphere. This is a strange universe to find oneself in.
Yeah. And it becomes obvious almost immediately, excuse me, that he's really overmatched because I think the first thing that he runs into are these sort of like tree creatures. It looks like how Groot can like elongate his body. It's these tree roots that encircle and attack him. And he goes through a thing with them. And then he comes across these pods that.
This is my favorite part. Or at least I'm going to say that a lot. This is one of my favorite parts because when I'm saying that this is an alien world, not only is this, look, here's a bunch of weird stuff that you would find in an alien world, but there's some thought behind it. The Avatar ain't got nothing on Genna because he finds himself in this field with these like cat o' nine tails looking things, like oversized cat o' nine tails looking things. And if you get close to them, they start to swell up and they have like little darts in them.
Spikes. Yeah.
So clearly you can get through them if you take your time and do it. But obviously don't go near that field. But he finds himself in the middle of it. And then a flying predator circles overhead and then drops something into the field, which sets off a bunch of them.
A boulder.
So not only are we given this alien world, but we're given like an ecosystem at play. Like this animal has figured out if it sees something down in that field, if it drops something, that plant will attack that thing, knock it out, and then it's easy pickings.
Yeah. And in the midst of that sequence where he's trying to edge his way, because if you edge back from these pods, they will shrink back. But if you get too close to them, it's like they know the proximity. But in the midst of this, this synth, Thea, is in like the vulture's nest. She's been entangled there. She's been there for we don't know at that point how long. And she starts to communicate with Dek. And that's the clever
Yautja.
thing. Yeah.
At first. So we're getting
Yautja.
subtitled and she's like, hey, Yautja, you're fucked down there.
Yeah, she's a synth that has basically been created to observe and record all the plant life and the fauna and the flora. And the character is very curious, and it's a nice foil for Dek, who is very taciturn and stoic, as you would expect a Yautja to be.
A synth programmed with empathy.
And also, if you've seen the trailers, you know that at this point in the movie, she has no legs.
Yeah, there's only half of her.
There's only half of her. She's trapped there because she has been part of a team that we learn has tried to make contact with this Kalisk, and her legs were separated from her body, and she ended up in this vulture's nest with only half of her. So she effectively makes a deal with Dek. She will help him navigate the dangers of this planet if he will take her to reunite her with her legs effectively and fix her. So,
oh my God, that's the plot of our movie.
It is. And so he makes it through this. Actually, it's actually interesting because you think he's going to get through this, but in fact, he does get stung by one of these darts and he's paralyzed. But as this creature, this vulture thing comes down, she has gotten off from her perch and she kills this thing. She dispatches it in this really brutal way, but just off screen. All you see is her hand with a blade, like stabbing this thing over and over again. And then she comes back into view, like first person view, like, oh, hey, you okay? Everything all right? And that's their introduction. So he doesn't know what to make of her. And in fact, he has no interest in helping her. But then she basically convinces him that she's basically like a tool, this tool that can help him to navigate this dangerous planet. And at first, that's what he calls her, his tool. And he slings her on his back, and it's a little bit like, I don't know, Luke and Yoda going through Dagobah with this sage on his back.
HP
But
is sci-fi greatness. It is every animated movie from the 1970s wanted to be this. Every
right.
Ralph Bakshi fumbling attempt at wizards and whatever. This is the landscape I always wanted to see. It is so incredibly Frank Frazetta. I nearly lost my mind.
It really is. Oh,
An
we also should
alien,
mention
an alien warrior with half of an android on his back, trekking through the most dangerous planet in the universe. What could be better than that? If I was 9 years old, I would never stop watching this movie.
so it's like Predator meets a buddy movie, kind of. And she, as you said, she is nothing but empathy, and he is the exact opposite of empathy. But they have these kind of fireside conversations, for lack of a better term, and slowly but surely she starts to get through to him because he's been indoctrinated with this Yautja code. And she basically convinces him, like she tells him this story about wolves and how wolves hunt in packs. And then there's the alpha wolf. And his reaction is, oh, the alpha must be the one that kills the most. And she says, no, the alpha is the one who actually protects the rest of the pack. And they work together as a team to get through this stuff. And slowly but surely through the course of the movie, he essentially learns the value of that. And in fact, he's forming this ragtag, for lack of a better term, this ragtag family that he builds around himself, and they all play a part in helping him get through this. What I wanted to mention, if people aren't aware, is Thea and the other synths we see come courtesy of Weyland-Yutani Corporation. So this is another movie that takes place in the shared Alien Predator universe. So
Let's
there is
call
that.
this the first one.
I would love it if this was the first of, because obviously we talked about Alien versus Predator, the original third movie in the series. This it feels like a better beginning to that shared universe. I love it because it's not overly beholden to aliens. In fact, you never even see or hear of any of the alien xenomorphs, but they're there.
One little crossover from Alien Romulus that I loved is that when a synth shuts down or is shut down, their eyes roll in and the Weyland-Yutani logo pops up in their pupils.
I love that.
It is
Loved
such
it.
it is that will happen with the corporatization of everything. Wherever they can jam a logo. Oh, eyeballs, perfect. Put a logo there.
Yeah. So parallel to this, so Thea has counterpart, a sister, if you will, called Tessa, that they work together. And it's Thea's goal to get back to Tessa. And meanwhile, Tessa and her coterie of her battalion of other synths. By the way, this is very cool. I picked up on this over the course of the movie. So it's all the rest of the synths are males, and they're all played by the same guy. So but it never calls attention to itself. They do it so well. So
we're so used to seeing like a team of faceless thugs that for a little while that's all you think it is until you start looking at them really, and it's the same guy. It's the same model basically. Weyland-Yutani has sent out their drones.
It works gangbusters. It felt so genuine and what Weyland-Yutani, like you said, would actually do. So Tessa and her team are still out they want to trap the Kalisk. That's what their whole scheme is. Weyland-Yutani wants to capture the Kalisk so that they can basically dissect it and experiment on it and figure out
That's what Wayland
do what it
Yutani
does.
does. They want to fucking weaponize whatever they can get their hands on.
Exactly. This is another in the long line of things that they do that a corporation would do at this point. But so they meet up this creature. What do they call it? Bud. This little
Yeah,
monkey looking thing.
yeah, okay. Here's where the sort of Mandalorian Grogu
Yeah.
Disneyfication argument can be made because what you have is a creature native to the planet who is humanoid enough that it's like a monkey, basically, and
Yeah.
it interacts with them and provides comic relief, but also is very lethal, let's say. Like, we don't meet him in a nice manner. It's quite a harrowing sequence. So look, I get you can accuse this, well, they want to sell dolls or whatever, but let's face it, I don't think Dan Trachtenberg wants to sell one fucking doll, or unless it's like a McFarlane Toys version of a Predator.
To me, the fact that the 1-2 punch of Prey and Killer of Killers, I have the utmost faith in Dan Trachtenberg, and I have no doubt that he and his team of writers wrote the movie that they wanted to write. I don't believe that they were under any sort of pressure by Disney or anybody else to shoehorn in some character like an Ewok just to sell plushies or something. I don't think that's the case.
I know the Hunchback of Notre Dame should have little gargoyle friends. It was another weirdo touch to this movie. Like, okay, here's the warrior alien, here's the half android, and now here's this little creature running around with them. Like, what could be better? It's so fucking science fiction.
Deck has been forming his own personal clan. He has Thea, who is helping him to navigate this world and essentially get him to his goal, which is the Kalisk. And along the way, he picks up this creature, this bud monkey creature who's actually surprisingly capable in this environment. And what I also like about this is that initially Dex still doesn't care. Like Thea he leaves the camp and effectively abandons this little cute monkey creature. And Thea tries her best to get through to him and say, this creature risked its life for you and you can't just abandon it. But he's still single-minded of purpose and he wants to get to the Kalisk. And eventually they do make it to the Kalisk nest, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, but before that, him and Bud have a scene straight out of Jaws. Remember when Brody is sitting there with young Michael and young Michael's copying all of his moves? We get that right here with a Yautja and a little beastie who is just mimicking everything he's doing and like slowly melting his heart because it's fucking adorable.
It is adorable. And you're right. It is one of those things where they've had this sequence where this creature called like something bison, this giant kind of rhino meets a woolly mammoth creature. They've killed it by working together. And then the next sequence is at night. The Deck is eating this creature by the campfire and he gives a piece to Bud. And that's when Bud mimics what he's doing. We're trying to act all tough. And how can you not? I mean, I don't know. I'm not jaded enough to go, oh, this is just a gambit to add something cutesy that doesn't really belong. I thought it was cute. And I thought, again, every other Predator movie, as good as some of them are and as great as some of them are, they didn't have any of this sort of comic relief, this sort of sweetness that we're seeing here. And again, I couldn't help thinking this is really like Dan Trachtenberg kind of flexing his muscles and saying, all right, you thought you were going to see just another old Predator movie where he lays waste to another team of special forces guys or what have you? No, I'm not going to give you that. I'm going to give you this kind of buddy movie trek across this hostile landscape with this ragtag band of misfits, including a Predator. It's so bold.
He seems to constantly be asking the question, what can I only do in this kind of movie? Let's do that. And then they do it.
Look, his next movie could be a Western featuring a Yautja, and I would gladly pay my $10 or whatever to go see it because he is.
You know what? He could do it without a Yautja. My point is, if his next movie was a Western and it was an actual Western and he had a train sequence, then this guy would go, okay, what makes train sequences great? What hasn't been done? What can we innovate here? And then he would work to do it and he would do it.
Yeah. I just think it's It's bold. That's the word that I keep coming back to. It's like he's feeling himself and he's like, all right, now that I've been handed the keys to the kingdom, I've proven myself over the last couple of movies. How can I innovate in this series? Oh, I got it. I'm going to make the protagonist the Yautja instead of being this nameless, faceless, for lack, killer who just lays waste to a bunch of humans. It's just, it's incredible to me that he would go in that direction. It would never have occurred to me, Father Malone, to take the movie in that direction.
Shout out to George Lucas for putting subtitles for Greedo in the cantina sequence in Star Wars, because the executives fought him on that. And they said, what if a kid can't read it? And he said, their parent will read it to them, because he thought they would speak alien languages, and let's start having them speak in alien languages. And that really pays off here. I think you can draw a direct line from Greedo to Deck here.
We should mention, you made reference to this earlier, is that initially Thea is speaking Yautja back to him when they first meet, but then she does a little in her head, and it's a cheap gambit, but it works. She essentially says, "All right, now I've my programming now. You will hear me speaking you'll hear me speaking Yautja, but it's a universal translator. Effectively, is what she's done. So for the rest of the movie,
she says, you're universal translator. You're hearing me speak Yautja, but everyone else will hear what their language, which by the way, which immediately made me flash to writer Rockne S. O'Bannon. He was a writer on the Twilight Zone. He created Sequest, DSV, and Farscape. And when we were talking about Twilight Zone episodes, he says the one that he was most interested in writing were ones that removed the glass from your television. It allowed an interaction with the audience that was delicate and not over hitting you over the head with it. And that's what this felt like to me, because that's breaking the fourth wall. That's talking to the audience and saying, hey, you out there, you're hearing English, because I'm sure if you see this in Spain, you would get that joke in Spanish.
Yeah, and it worked. It's one line and you forget about it. And for the rest of the movie, he is still subtitled. He's still speaking Yautja, but she's speaking English. And you never give it a second thought. The showing that you saw, Father Malone, was it loud as fuck?
I saw this movie in IMAX, so...
Yeah, I didn't see it in IMAX, but it was loud, and that's exactly what you want, because this is a brutal alien death planet, and everything needs to be loud and big. And my point that I'm leading up to is that extends to the soundtrack, which I thought was wonderful. I loved it.
Now, okay, so far Dan Trachtenberg has made 2 Predator movies, and each one has had its own composer. So for Prey, he had Sarah Schachner, and for Killer of Killers, he had Benjamin Wallfish. For Badlands, it's Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wallfish together, and it is seamless. And I was knocked out by it, because if ever there was an appropriate use of throat singing for a race of characters in a filmed entertainment, then it's for the Yautja. And their theme music was fucking awesome.
Very propulsive soundtrack. It worked perfectly.
I'd like to cut some in here so you can listen at home, but so far the soundtrack is completely unavailable.
Really? That's surprising.
I spend all fucking day looking for it.
Not even, wow, I've been on Spotify. That's incredible. It's fantastic. It works beautifully with the visuals. I'd be curious to hear it outside of the movie, but in the context of it, it seamlessly blends in with the action, with all the loud, all the explosions, everything that's happening. It's a very loud, like I said, propulsive, if that's the word I can think of, propulsive. It moves everything along. It's tribal at times. The throat singing with the Yautja is fantastic. I thought it worked really well. This isn't the kind of movie that begs for a traditional symphonic score. I think they needed something more alien sounding.
In lieu of listening to the soundtrack to this movie today, I instead listened to Benjamin Wallfish's soundtrack to Alien Romulus, which, like this, tends to quote from its source material. They're quoting from the original Jerry Goldsmith score from the first Alien movie. God damn, what a gorgeous score. I'm so excited that there are There are such talented composers coming up. I mean, look, I'm saying they're coming up as if they haven't been working for decades already, but like, I'm glad there are replacements for the ones that we've had to deal with all this time.
Yep. I mean, look, John Williams is not going to be doing scores forever. Hans Zimmer is not going to be around forever either. So it's
Danny
cool
Elfman
that
is caught in a loop of performing Nightmare Before Christmas at the Hollywood Bowl every day for the rest of his life.
pretty much. But at one time, he was the innovator. Remember the
He
Batman
was.
soundtrack?
Oh my God, man. We were fucking Boingo fans. And
We loved
suddenly
it.
he's making soundtracks. Holy shit. We were all
Yeah.
in.
Good ones. And not even, I mean, Midnight Run is a fantastic. It sounds nothing like anything else he's done. But to your point, these guys, these soundtrack composers, men and women, can't do it forever. So there's some interesting work being done. And this is really at the forefront.
Please put this soundtrack out. I'm going to go buy it. Like, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a while, too, since I've listened to a soundtrack while the film is playing. I thought, need to pick this one up.
It just felt like it worked so beautifully with the images. I thought it was a good, because that's what you're really, I think the worst trap you can fall into as a composer is if your soundtrack calls too much attention to itself. It takes away from what's happening on screen. That was not the case here. It's loud and brash, just like the movie itself. And it's very organic to the movie, I thought.
HP, let's just say this barrels toward a fantastic conclusion for the movie. Overall, I'm going to say this is a great movie and everyone should go see it. But I think at this point, we're going to just delve into the climax of the film.
Yep.
I
This
don't
is
think there's
spoiler.
anything more
That-
sort of
yeah.
generally to talk about without talking about the ending of the film.
Yeah. So anyone who doesn't want the ending spoiled, just skip to the end, but we're getting into it.
Yeah, so if you're going by, we'll see you on Monday with another episode of Tales from the Dark Side. And next Friday, make sure you tune in because that's the start of our newest fest, Star Trek Fest. Everybody, Star Trek the Motion Picture. So tune in then. Everyone else, here we go. A climax of Predator Badlands.
Yeah. So leading up to this, we discover that this character Bud, this little cutesy monkey looking thing, is actually a baby Kalisk. And during this sweet scene at the campfire, after Deck gives him a piece of food in appreciation, this little monkey spits on him.
It marks him.
Deck takes it as an insult at first, but then Thea says, he's marked you.
Now, this, I will say, had this been an R-rated movie, the Bud would have pissed on him.
Probably.
Okay, so critics have it there. I'll give him that he didn't get pissed on, but his spinning in his face was pretty gross.
Yeah, it's like this blue, you see it as a sheen on the Predator. So what happens is eventually they make it to the nest of the Kalisk, and the Kalisk comes back. And Deck
Holy
has-
shit, the Kalisk fight is fucking incredible.
It's incredible because it's essentially like a cross between King Kong and a porcupine. It's this spiky, giant, ape-like creature that Deck finds out pretty quickly has this power to regenerate itself because he eventually decapitates this creature, and you think,
Oh my God.
that's it.
It's such a great end to the scene. And I thought,
Yeah.
look, we'd seen it regenerate, but I thought, oh, he's cut its head off. Certainly it's dead now.
That's going to be it. But no, whoop, it comes back together, and it's about to basically kill Deck. He's got Deck at its mercy, and he sniffs. And that's when you realize, at least I realized at that point, without them calling it out, that creature Bud is a baby Kalisk. And because he's marked Deck, this mama Kalisk, decides not to kill him, basically. And this all works to start swaying. Once Deck realizes that the baby Kalisk, that's his mother, his focus ultimately shifts from I'm going to kill the Kalisk and prove my worth to I need to protect this mother Kalisk because Bud is part of my clan and we all look out for each other. It's an amazing, I mean, I'm leaving out a lot of stuff that happens from that point from A to B.
You were saying
that's essentially
exactly
what we
what
have.
fucking matters, which is what the whole movie is about, which is finding your fucking clan and then fucking standing by them.
Yeah. But in the midst of all this, what ends up happening is
The French trappers arrive.
right. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the other thing that, if it hasn't already been made clear, and the thing that I loved about this, I just have to say this before I forget about it again, is in Prey, we had Naru, who was anxious to prove her worth and her mettle to her tribe. That's what we have here, only it's from the Yautja perspective. It's
Oh,
amazing.
I did mention Terminator 2, right? This is just a
Right.
remake. This is the same story,
It is, yeah. Um,
including the French trappers arriving and fucking shit up. Here they come. Now in the future, it's just Wayland Yutani. It is and it's the same exact motivation. Let's just pillage this native land and make fucking money off of it and destroy everything in our path.
that's exactly right. And we learn that Tessa, this counterpart to Thea, is everything that she is not. She has no empathy. She has really no emotion. Her whole goal is to trap the Kalisk and bring it back for Mother. We have Mother. But in the meantime, she traps the Predator, Deck. And now, so now she has the Kalisk and she has Deck on this shuttle that's taking them to the depot where it's going to be sent off world or what have you. And she starts to experiment on Deck against his will, obviously, as Thea is observing all of this from her vantage point.
They're
And
shocking his brain. It's awful.
it really is awful. And
His skull
so
lights up like a fucking translucent Christmas tree.
again, if you didn't already have empathy for Deck, you surely have empathy for him now because, again, it is the French trapper sequence from Prey where now our protagonist is in the hands of the bad guys who are basically having their way with him. And there's it's an interesting resolution to this. And it's one of those, yeah, moments where at the beginning, when Deck is talking to his brother, there's this little cylindrical thing on the ship. And Deck says, "Oh, you still have that thing?" And you forget about it.
Chekhov's
That
Yautja toy.
It's a child's toy. And what effectively happens is Tessa leaves the train car and one of the sort of nameless, faceless synths comes in, and Thea convinces him that she starts to translate for Deck, but slanting it so that they can get the upper hand against this synth. And she asks Deck, "What is this thing?" "Oh, it's a child's toy." "But tell him that it's a map." So she tells him that it's a map, and he opens it, and the thing explodes in his face.
Because it's a Yautja toy.
What kind of child's toy is this? And so she helps free him, and this whole. Now he's finally rounded the corner, and he sees the value in having
Okay,
help.
let me tell you something, pal.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only is the child's toy, the Chekhov's Yautja child's toy from the opening pays off at the end, everything pays off.
It
Here,
really does.
including when Deck is first stumbling around Genna for the first time. He keeps encountering strange flora and fauna, some of which are like explosive. And during the course of the film, he gets stripped of all of his Yautja weapons. It starts off and he's got like a laser sword and a laser bow and the shoulder mounted cannon, and all of that's gone. So by the end, he has to just use all of his wits and everything he's come along with. So he goes back and collects all of those things that we've seen that have damaged him in order to infiltrate and fuck up all of the Wayland Yutani forces. It's amazing.
Right. It is. And it's his Dutch moment from the very first movie, because we had that sequence where Schwarzenegger is laying these traps for the Predator. He's gotten rid of all the guns, everything else. He's gone primal. That's what we have, even down to the fact that he forges armor from the carcass of this space bison that he has killed for food. And at one point, Thea even says, like, "What are you wearing?" And he says, "I'm wearing bison." He has this mask that's all like it's all bone and everything. It is great. And he's figured out a way to trap these pod things that shoot spikes to put like essentially like a blinder over the top of it so that it won't shoot until he wants it to. And he's got like fangs that he's fashioned into spikes that he can use to whatever. And
it would be a fucking bloodbath if it wasn't a bunch of synths. So that's why it's a PG-13, fuckers.
Yeah. And they go through between he and Thea. And by the way, Thea never, like, she got her legs, but They were interrupted before
since we're talking about spoilers, let's talk about this sequence and talk about asking a question. What can we do in this movie that we could never do in any other movie? Oh, I know.
Let's have Thea's legs, which she has not been able to reattach to her torso. The legs have some sort of homing beacon to where she's being held at this depot. So the legs just walk blindly to where she is, but along the way, the legs have this ability to kick ass. The legs can actually kill these other synths that are wandering around, and it's this assault that the legs and Deck and this monkey creature, they're just dispatching synths left and right. But the legs, I could not believe the spectacle, right?
Did I say that this is the most science fiction movie of all time? It's just so ridiculous. Every moment of this movie made me happy. It just kept piling on. And I just thought, by the end, I thought, it doesn't matter. If this just comes down to two people punching each other in the last few minutes of the movie, I'll be fine with it. And then the legs started brawling with other synths. And I was like, what am I even watching right now?
It all works. And so they're leading this assault against Weyland-Yutani to free. At this point, it's not about him killing the Kalisk. It's about him freeing the Kalisk, because now he knows that this member of his clan, it's the creature's mother. So this is really his redemptive moment, Deck's redemptive moment. And it all culminates with Tessa, this evil synth, piloting what's essentially a giant version of the power loader from Aliens, the mother alien battle at the end. Get away from her, you bitch. But it's giant. It can pick up huge storage containers. And that's
it's branded Weyland-Yutani, but it makes me think back to Aliens, and that one was branded Caterpillar. And that always made me happy.
Oh, that's right. Because to me, that's more realistic.
Absolutely.
Because of course Caterpillar is going to be producing that. Yeah.
Weyland-Yutani is going to outsource to other companies. Let's face it.
Yeah. So it's effectively Tessa against Deck, and it's so again, we're in spoiler territory. It looks as if the Kalisk is freed, and the Kalisk helps defeat this giant power loader, Tessa. And there's a very sweet moment where the mother Kalisk is reunited with the bud, her child. And then in fact, there's even a moment where Deck signifies his own attachment to this clan that he's now a part of. And then in the midst of all of that, Tessa has been basically swallowed by the Kalisk, but she has retrieved a shoulder gun from the Yautja's ship that can basically shoot cold beams. It's not just a laser. It shoots a freeze ray. I don't know what you'd call it, but that's effectively what it is.
Yeah, you know how we mentioned that Trachtenberg is always innovating in every fucking movie? Here we're seeing in the far-flung future. Remember, this takes place in the future, so these are what Predators have evolved into now. So even the shoulder cannon has been updated. It's not just an energy weapon. This one can freeze shit.
Yeah, and sadly for the Kalisk, she shoots this cannon from within the belly of the beast and kills it. I was hoping the thing would still reform itself after being blown to bits, essentially.
Yeah, me too.
But no such luck. And ultimately, it's all for naught because
really
Tessa's
sad,
killed.
Actually.
It is a sad moment.
I don't know why you had to bring that back up, man.
Sorry, man. A little wipe a tear away. But at that point, the action cuts back to Yautja Prime, where now Deck has returned to, we think, claim his place with the clan, but that's not actually why he came back. He comes back and
he
confronts
does.
His father.
He's coming to claim his place with his clan.
But he brings it's almost like he doesn't need them because he has his clan, because he's brought Thea
that's what I'm
Bud
saying.
with him.
He's coming to show his trophy off and say, I don't need you motherfuckers anymore. And I love his trophy, by the way.
His trophy is Tessa's head. He's brought that back to his father.
But
and he says, "This is my
cleaned
trophy."
it. It's not just Elle Fanning's head.
That's
it's an android skull, just completely clean,
just like a Predator would do. That's a great point.
And I'd like to point out this, like all the best Predator movies, includes a Predator fixing himself up but performing triage after he's been
We do
fucked
have
up
that
in
here,
battle.
yeah.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
And he does that thing at one point. Like we talked about this in Predator 2, where he crushes up like tile. He does that with a plant.
But even better, HP, we get a bit of explanation here because he takes a plant and then he scans it to figure out what its properties are, and then goes, and then crushes it up and adds it to his wound. So there you go. They can recognize properties and things we can't.
He does fix himself up, which is to say that he goes through a lot. Deck doesn't, he's full of wounds by the end of this movie, but he confronts his father and they have their fated battle. And it's actually interesting how it resolves. I mean, he does kill his father, but
Does
but
he?
not before. So what happens is when he was going to be killed, when Deck was going to be killed by his brother, there's this like device that the brother threw on the ground that basically like shackles the Predator Deck to the ground.
Laser restraints.
With the idea, it's like laser restraint. So he uses the same gambit on his father, and he picks up a spear, and it looks like he spears the father in the face, but he only goes so far as to take the father's mask off. That's when we see the reveal of the father under the mask, this old predator, this Yautja.
I love an elderly predator, man. This is our second one. We didn't even get to see the face of the first one, but we knew he was old in Predator 2 at the end. Or no, even more so at the end of Aliens versus Predator when he gives her the lance instead of being a good dude and taking her off of this stinking world of ours. But here we get senior Predator. We get Predator ready for the daycare center.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's successful in battle. And it's interesting because at some point in the movie, this occurred to me, it's just as a fleeting thought, which is all of the Predator are men. We've never ever seen a female Predator. And I don't know the context of why I even thought of that. It just occurred to me that they've all been males.
You're right.
And
the Predator series has been a sausage fest.
It has. So he's triumphant over his father, and then all the other Predators who have been watching this, all the Yautja,
you know what this
go
means,
crazy.
HB?
What's that?
We don't have a Yautja Fest. We've got a sausage fest.
Good call. Good punch up. Signaling this ship that comes down that everybody's freaking out about. And Thea says, "What's that? What's going on? Who is that?" And
do you know him?
Says,
do you know them? No.
Yeah.
Are they friends of yours? No. It's my mother.
That's the cut. That there's no, I will say this, like people who are, it essentially functions as a post-credit scene without making you wait for the post-credit scene. Because what happens is after he's triumphant over his father, we get the title card, Predator Badlands, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes immediately to this, what amounts to a post-credit scene where the mother's ship touches down, and then we have a hard cut to the credits, and the credits roll. But
no post-credit scenes. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I wasted my time. I waited for a while before I looked it up online
because we're suckers.
And because this was an early screening, there wasn't a lot of info on. Like I'm searching, does Predator Badlands have a post-credit scene? And everything I could find basically said, no, it happens pretty immediately, so don't waste your time. And that's effectively what happened. But that's the cliffhanger, is apparently if he continues with this storyline, we're going to continue with the adventures of Deck and Thea, and we're going to meet Bud, and we're going to meet the first female Predator, which seems like, based on the reaction of the other the females are probably way more deadly than the males in this case. They seemed very scared of this female Predator coming
That's
down.
right. All the other Yautja fucking started freaking out when that ship came over the horizon.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's very tantalizing. And I'd like to point out a couple of things. It's Bud who kills the dad, bites his fucking head off.
Oh,
he gets revenge for his mom. That's nice. The other thing, the theme of
as you said, Bud is grown since they left Genna. He's now, it's like, again, it's a little like Groot. He's now probably the size of a gorilla, like a large gorilla. He hasn't hit full puberty yet or full maturity, but
he's big enough to easily fit a Yautja's head in his mouth and chomp it off neatly.
So I hope that he sticks. I mean, as much as I love seeing where Dan Trachtenberg's imagination and creativity take us. I want to spend more time with these characters. I really enjoyed my time with Thea and Deck and Bud. I want to see more of that. What
You
about you,
know,
Father Malone?
I think what I want is the mothership to open, the mothership, literally,
The
and
literal mothership.
her assistant to come out to herald her arrival, and that's Dutch. Old Dutch.
No, that's going to be the next animated picture. I'm convinced that's the way they're going to bring Dutch back to the series. It's got to be
What
animated.
I want Naru. I want Schwarzenegger. I want Demetrius and Elle Fanning here. I want a monster mash here, a monster rally.
So, are we meant to believe that Sanaa Latham's character wasn't cryogenically frozen because she didn't actually kill a predator?
I guess it depends on who owns that actual movie and whether or not they really want to canonize it. Because we haven't,
Interesting.
I mean,
Haven't
I
heard
guess
of
we've
it.
seen, have we seen anything really from those movies pop up as canon in the rest of the Trachtenberg
Not at
flicks?
all.
Yeah,
I will
so
say
they
one of
might
the
be
little
hedging their
East.
bets there.
Speaking of, one of the little Easter eggs is when they're poking around Deck's ship. Obviously, there's always going to be a row of skulls on a door, and that's going to prompt people like me to go, "Oh, what am I seeing? Anything?" First of all, there was a Tyrannosaurus Rex skull, which makes you think they've been doing this for millions of years. Secondly,
Makes me think we're going to get a total Frank
right,
Frazetta movie at some point, baby, with a predator
that
running
would be
around with a
cool.
spear stabbing dinosaurs.
I will say one of the skulls on the wall, and I looked this up, looks suspiciously like the alien from Independence
Oh
Day,
yeah, you
which
could
which
see
I
that
think
in the
is
trailer. I saw it like
yeah,
it was a brief flash of it. I went, "Oh, the Independence Day alien. Look at that."
yeah. So
Hopefully, don't
I
cross
applaud.
over with air, please.
No, not unless you're going to bring back the president there and have it be something triumphant.
Not
I
unless
don't
you're
know.
going to have a time travel movie where they pick up a dinosaur and then go forward in time where they meet Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park and Jeff Goldblum from Independence Day.
There you go, Dan Trachtenberg. If you're listening, there's your pitch.
You don't even need synths. I can't recommend this movie enough. I guess to
Yeah,
wrap it up, this was fucking great. I had a great time watching this movie.
it was fun, and the thing of it is, the Predator series, I think, especially some of the best ones, like the first one and Prey, and even the Predator has an element of this. They have the best ones have something for everybody, I think. But I can see if somebody's not doesn't have an affinity for the more horror based aspects, because some of these movies do play like horror movies at times. This there's really no horror in this. This is basically a sci-fi adventure buddy movie. And I can't recommend it enough. Even if you don't think you're a fan of the Predator movies, you don't necessarily need to know all of the what's canon and every little bit of minutia from every single movie. If you just want to see a kick-ass science fiction epic with great action, surprising amount of emotion, and just fun, you cannot go wrong with this movie. I can't recommend it highly enough as well.
It's a culmination of 40 years and two separate franchises, and I think it works completely as a standalone film. As you said, I think you could come in and watch this movie cold and just get it.
Yeah, just get it. It's better if you understand what's come before and you know how this really diverges from what we've seen before. Again, I was thinking it would have been so easy for him to just knock off another Predator meets group of mercenaries, group of whatever, but this isn't it. And I applaud that. I think he's playing with house money at this point. I think he's proven himself as a real. He's like, I mean, not to make a direct comparison, but he's like Dave Filoni when they handed him the keys to the Star Wars TV shows, right? I, like or hate him, he did forge an interesting new creative direction for the series, and that has to be applauded to some degree.
Yeah, I agree. That's an apt comparison. If Dave Filoni was talented and did
I knew you'd say that.
anything interesting with those instead of just another fetch quest. That's all Dave Filoni knows. Fetch quests. We got to go get the mystical thing of blah blah blah. Let's go, team. Okay, and now we got to go get the mystical thing of blah blah blah. Let's go get that. Oh no, the Sith again. Anyway, two things I'll say about this movie in summation. I think for all the kick ass action directors working today, Trachtenberg is my favorite. He's working in a visual language that is right up my alley, and I think yours too. He seems to have worshipped at the twin school of John Woo and Steven Spielberg. His action is always innovative while never skimping on visceral impact, and he is the best action filmmaker for geography. You always know where everything is every single time, no matter how quick or languid the cutting is for any of his action sequences. It's never confusing. And I can't say that about any of the other Predator movies.
Yeah. It's the action, it's really wall to wall action. I mean, there's a lot of bonding and scenes with the characters getting to know each other, but there's a ton of action. We've left out several big action sequences that if you're going look, if you're going to see this movie, I would encourage you. I wish I saw it in IMAX, but if you're going to see it, if you have any wish to see it in the theater, because this is a big action extravaganza that deserves to be seen on the big screen, no matter if it's regular theater or IMAX.
There we are. That's the end. Until next time. Where can people find you if they're looking for you, HP?
All right. I co-host the Night Mr. Walters Taxi podcast with Father Malone here. I also host the Noise Junkies Music Podcast. And if that weren't enough, I have a Bandcamp site, hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com.
Go to all those places immediately. As for me, usually on Mondays, I do Father Malone's Weekly Roundup, but I'm on hiatus right now. So this Monday will be a Tales from the Dark Side. And then the week after, I'll be back with talk of, I don't know, Frankenstein and shit. I have actually seen a ton of movies recently. They've just been bad. I've been watching a lot of TV. Anyway, as I said earlier, tune in next Friday for our latest fest. It's not just for patrons anymore. It is our Star Trek Fest, starting with Star Trek: The Motion Picture. That's going to be fantastic. Thank you, Dan Trachtenberg. Thank you, Yautja everywhere. We love you.